Hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar on the Learning Management System or LMS for short. Today I will be going through the user end view as well as going through the backend of the LMS as a system administrator to give everyone an overview of what we will be covering today. We'll be going through account creation slash account management, group creation slash group management, course assignment, as well as reporting. So hopefully by the end of this webinar session, everyone will feel more confident in navigating and managing the learning system. Firstly, we will log in by entering the portal URL. Please note that I am using a demo portal today, so your URL will be unique to your own portal. But once you have entered in your URL, it will direct you to the login page where the user or the admin will need to enter in their username and password. Once you have entered in those details here, just select login. So once the user has successfully logged into the system, they will be directed to the home page. And as a standard user or learner of the system, I can actually navigate to different sections of the learning system by selecting some of the menu up the top here. So first we have the home option, which takes the user back to the current page that we are on should they have navigated to a different section in the learning portal. Next, we have the help option here, which takes a user to the help and support information page where the user can find the contact support should there be any technical questions they may have or any technical support they may require. Also built into the help dashboard here as well is the FAQ. And as you can see that there are already some pre-built questionnaires in the FAQ. However, if you do find that users are asking the same question frequently, just note that this can be added to the FAQ at a later date. Next is the software downloads. So this is where the user can go to should they need to update their web browsers. We generally recommend to use either Google Chrome or Firefox. However, Microsoft Edge and Safari is also compatible with the Kineo courses as well. Next, we also have the system requirements. Um, this is a page where quite often where we will direct the users or learners to if they are encountering any issue using the course in the portal itself. So what it does is that it would check the computer that the user is using to ensure that they are using the latest operating system or using the latest browser. It would check that for the user. I generally recommend the user to check the system requirements first as a point starter to troubleshoot an issue if the user is coming to the admin or myself where they are encountering an issue with completing their training. Next is using a course, which basically go through the navigation within the course itself. It will show the user how to access the table of content, how to change the volume, how to pause the voiceover, and how to obtain the completion certificate when they have completed their course. The next option is the My Training tab here. This is where the user can view all of their assigned training. The user can also use the filter function up the top here to show any courses that is currently in progress, completed or not started. And to commence a training, all they need to do is click onto the course title. It will initiate the launching process and the user can simply commence their training by selecting on a topic here. And to exit, they can just simply exit the course, which will then take them back to the My Training page here. And any courses that has been completed, the user has the option to download the certificate as well by selecting the View Now option. Depending on the browser that you are using, it would either initiate the downloading process straight away or it would ask you permission to open up the file. In this case, it does prompt a permission box here, so I'm just going to click OK. And once you have selected OK, it will open up your certificate here for the user. So that is the My Training tab. Next to the My Training tab is the Transcript tab. This is where the user can obtain a copy of their historic completion. For example, if the user is required to show proof of completion for a course back in 2018, then this information can be obtained in the transcript. So as you can see here, this is all the historic completions that I have done. And the user can also export this information as a CSV file. They can also print this as well, or save this as a PDF. The next option here is the Resources tab. The Resources tab allows a user to access and uploaded documents and any other files that you would like to share. So this is a great way if you would like to provide extra reading materials or share a link. This can be done through the Resources tab, and simply the user can go into here and download any particular documents that they would like to read further, or even watch a video link that you have shared through the Resources tab. The next option here is the External Training Records. The external training records is a great way if you want to capture a third-party training, such as face-to-face training that's done through a different organization, or even captured courses that's not necessarily offered through the online LMS system. If I select more, there is also the training catalog. The training catalog is a great way to offer extra training that is not required as part of their mandatory training. The user can look through the training catalog and then they can self-enroll into a course. So if I am a user of the system, I can access the training catalog here, look at the courses that's currently offered as a self-enrollment course. And if I would like to do an extra course on early childhood, I can select enroll now. It will prompt that I am enrolled, and I can go into my training tab here, go not started, and there will be the course that I have just enrolled in from the training catalog. The next part is the online store. If you have an online store added to your LMS, then the user can navigate to the online store option to make a purchase. Also built into the online store section is the using the online store guide. So if a user would like to know how to add a course to their cart or how to proceed with their purchase, they can have a look at this guide here and it will show them how to do that. And once they are happy to start looking or browsing through the course list, they can either select the course category, or if there's no course category, there will be a extended list of courses available where they can just select the course, and then it will bring up the course summary file, as well as the cost price of the course itself. And they can simply add the course to the cart and then proceed with the checkout. So this is the online store component. And last but not least, we have classroom training. Again, if you have classroom booking system added to your LMS, then navigating to classroom training option allows you to enroll into a particular session that you might be interested in, or you need to apply into. I can also check for my sessions here, a few sessions that is currently in my area as well as search for any sessions that I would like to apply for. Just note that today I am using a demo portal, so some of the options that I have gone through may not be utilized by your LMS. So note that not all options that I have gone through will apply to your own training portal. And that summarizes the whole user perspective of the learning management system. The next component, which I will go through, is the admin side of the LMS. If you are a system administrator or an admin in the LMS, what you will notice on the top right hand corner here is the admin drop down option where you can navigate to different products in the LMS. I will quickly go through what each of these products are, but primarily today we are focusing on the learning management system. So the first product is Activity Builder. This will take you to our online authoring tool, which will allow you to create your own learning content. As soon as you reach the dashboard here, you can see any existing courses that have been created either yourself or by another admin of the learning portal. However, if you need to create a new activity, just click on this banner here and you have the option to either create a new learning component or also upload a SCORM package to the activity builder. The next option here is the batch tool, which allows administrator of the learning portal to create accounts here in bulk by uploading a CSV file. So for example, if you are onboarding maybe 60, 100 users in the next couple of months, I would recommend to use the batch tool to process the account creations. This will save you a lot of time versus you sitting at your desk creating the accounts individually there. Next we have is the catalog. This is the admin view where you can go into to add a course or courses to the training catalog for users to self-enroll into. So it's very straightforward. You'll come into this view here, select add products, and then you can start adding the products into the current course catalog. Next here is the portal option. The portal option just take you back to the home page. We also have reporting here as well, which will take you to the reporting dashboard where you can generate user completion to see who is currently overdue, who is in progress, and who has completed their training. So you can see that there is quite a wide selections of different types of report that you can run. And last but not least, we have the resources management. So this is the admin backend. So if you would like to share reading materials or share a link, you'll come into the resources management and then start adding your resources. And then once that has been added, the user would then be able to view those resources. This then takes us to the learning management. Once you've selected learning management, it would direct you to the learning dashboard here. What we have here is a bar representation of courses that are assigned out in the system itself and the completion of those courses. This data here, as you will see, will change as users are logging in and completing the courses in the system. So at the moment, it's showing the top 10 most completed course assigned out to the users, but the training overview progress will change accordingly as users are logging in and say completing alcohol and other drugs. The percentage may rise a little, or it might be the top most completed training by the users in the system. Down the bottom here, we have the training completions and login graphs. So it will pinpoint the total login for each month. And if you hover your mouse over to a dot here, it will show you the total login and the total completion for that particular month. At the top here on the left-hand corner, we have the menu drop-down option in the LMS. So first option we can see is the dashboard, which takes you back to the current page that we are on should you navigate to a different section in the learning portal. We also have groups and accounts as well as all accounts. By default, the system will show you groups and accounts in the system. However, if you select all accounts, you'll notice that the view here will change to show you all of the accounts that's currently in the system here. But if I go back, I can change it to show only groups and accounts in the system. The next option here is the external training. So as I previously mentioned, you can add external training to a user records, and this is where you can add the external training records itself. So external training refers to the course that the user have completed, and in conjunction to that, we also have providers as well. So the provider in itself is who will be conducting the training. So I would need to add my providers and the external training records first in order for me to add those completions against the user's records. And last but not least, we have the audit logs. Now, just be mindful that only site administrators will have access to the audit logs. If you are just a standard admin, this option won't be available here for you. But the audit logs is quite useful as I tend to use this for one of two things. So the first is checking the logins and logout. And the reason why I check this type of information is purely for information as to why a user cannot log into their account. A lot of the time we have users calling up to say, I can't access my account or I can't log in. So I'll go into the audit logs and see why that is. And using this account here as an example, I can see one login failed and it says invalid details. So that tells me one of two things. Either the user has entered an incorrect username, or the password that they have used is also incorrect. And I can go into their account here and then either reset their password or confirm what is their username. And the next thing that I would probably use the auto log for is checking all types of logs. So this will tell me who is accessing the learning system, who has edited what in the learning system here as well. So this information could be quite useful should you need to identify who has edited whose account or which admin has added a particular course into a user account. That can be located in the audit logs. Now let's look at groups and account overview in depth. What I'm just going to do is quickly go back to the dashboard here, and what you will notice on the left hand side is the current group structure. So generally groups are utilized to organize your users or your learners in a learning portal. That way, if you need to assign a course to everybody in a specific location or to a particular role, you can do that in a learning system. As you can see here, Kineo is the top level group, and on the left hand side you can also see the subgroups that's currently sitting under the Kineo group. And down the bottom here we also have the accounts that is currently sitting on the Kineo group level, and any accounts that has an admin permission or an admin role to their group, we can see that there is an A at the top left hand side of their profile icon. So this is a way for you to differentiate who is the admin and who is a standard user in the group that we are currently looking at. Now let's have a look at subgroups here in details. Because I am using a demo portal, just note that the group structure will be different to how your current training portal has been set up. So for demonstration purposes, the structure has been set up based on the location itself. So we have Adelaide, Melbourne, and Sydney location. If I go into the Adelaide location, very similar view, we have the subgroup sitting at the top and then the accounts here sitting at the bottom. So the subgroups in the Adelaide department here is broken down based on the role type, the role type being customer service, finance, HR, people and culture, and sales. So for example, if I am onboarding a brand new user in the next couple of months, I can define where this user is currently situated. So that will be either in the Adelaide, Melbourne, or Sydney location. And then I can further assign them to one of these subcategories as well. So they could either be in customer service or in finance. Anytime that you gone into a group, you will always be directed to the edit page where you can update the group name if required at a later date. Along with the edit option here, there is also the accounts tab, which will show you all the current accounts that is sitting under the Adelaide group. And last but not least, we have the Learning Activities tab here as well. So this is where you can define group assignment. And by group assignment, if there is a particular course that is only required by the Adelaide group, you can assign that directly to the group itself. You can simply go and select Add an Activity. Access type is always enrolled in. And activity name, you can choose your course. So I can have a look at my course list here and assign it the basic life support role will be a user role, and then I'm going to add the learning activities. And the moment you add the course, it will fall under the enrolled learning activities category. And as you can see here, this is the current assigned training to the Adelaide group. So any subgroups and any accounts that is sitting under the Adelaide group will inherit the training that I have assigned here directly. Adding on to the course assignment there, if there is a course that is only required by the customer service team, then you would need to directly assign the course to the group itself. And exactly the same process, you will click into the customer service group, go into learning activities, add an activity here and pick your course. So this group here will also require to do additional training such as work health and safety. I'm going to add this, the user role, add the activity. So now I have defined that anyone in the customer service team, not only will they inherit the following courses, but they will also have to do the extra work health and safety training on top. Whereas if I go back into my Adelaide department group again and go into the finance group, that course is not inherited because I have assigned the course directly to the customer service team. Also, if you need to add additional groups to the current Adelaide group structure, what you can do is just go back to the Adelaide main group here. And next to the group section, there is a plus icon. Select that. That will open up a new group creation page. And all you need to do is pop in the group name. I'm just going to call it support. Hit save. And right away, you will see the newly created group here amongst your current subgroups. I'm going to select support. And again, exactly the same view. You can add additional groups into the support group here, and then you can also start to create your own user account. Additionally, you can go into the Learn Activities tab here as well and start adding courses that is only applicable to the support team. There's also something that I want to point out for any group assigned training, which is the bulk action tool. Just note that the bulk action tool is only permitted for any account that has a site administrator access. So if you are just a standard admin, this operation here will not be permitted with your account. But as the name suggests, the bulk action allows a site admin to run a bulk operation on a learning activities at a group level. So I can set a course completed for every single user sitting at the group level. I can also process a reset, setting a deadline date or removing a deadline date, and set an auto reset date here as well. So it will be quite handy if you need to process a bulk action for any of the courses that's currently assigned at a group level. Alrighty, so once you have created your groups and assigned training to your group there, we can start by adding our user account. So to add the user account, we go to the account section here. There is also a blue plus icon. We just select that. That will bring up the new account creation page, and you will need to fill out some account details for that particular user. So what is required is the username, password, first, last name, as well as the email address. Anything else additional is all optional. So I'm going to pop in a username, and usually you can either use an email address or the user first and last name. In this scenario, I will just simply use the first and last name as the username. So I'm going to pop in as kinyo.test, enter in the password. So it's just going to be something generic, and we need to confirm that to make sure that they're both the same. First name, I'm going to pop in as test, Kinyo, and this is where you will need to enter the account email address, but I am just going to pop in a dummy email. And once you have fulfilled all the requirements here, the save button will be enabled. I'm going to hit save. Now, sometimes if there is already an existing account with the username that you have entered, what I generally do to bypass that is just pop a numeral at the end. So I'm going to pop in 9. And once the account has been created here, you will get the notification down the bottom here, and it will also take you to the edit page of the account. So with the edit page of the account here, you can see the account details, the personal details. So at a later time, if you need to update a username or an email address, you can do so through the edit tab here. Another thing that I also would like to point out is the active selection here. So by default, all active accounts will have the slider pointing to yes. However, if you do need to deactivate an account, or if the user is no longer employed, we can update the slider from yes to no and save. And if I go refresh, you'll notice that the account is no longer visible under the account list, as I have deactivated the account here. Now, if I do need to bring back an archive account, what I can do is use the search function up the top here, and then search for the account that I'm looking for. And in order for you to search for any inactive accounts, you will need to update the search option status, because by default it will only bring up active accounts. So you can either check for maybe disabled account only, but in this scenario I always select all statuses, and I'm just going to pop in test. So as you can see, there is quite a few test account that is listed in the results bar, but I know that the account that we are looking for is the Kinyo Test 9. So I'm going to bring up the account here, and I'm going to update the slider from no to yes, hit save. And if I go back to my group and account view, go into the Adelaide, go into support, the test count has reappeared as an active user. One of the common questions that I get asked quite often is how to update a password. And to do that, we will just go into the Edit tab of the account, click here to change the password. Now we're just going to highlight the pre-filled or the existing password here and backspace, pop in a new password for the user account. Also just need to confirm, hit save, and it will confirm that the account has been updated. If you are on the phone with the user, you can relay the new password to the user there, or you can send off an email as well. So generally that is how I would update a password for an account in the LMS system. Next to the Edit tab is the Roles tab. So with the Roles tab, we can quickly identify the group that's currently being assigned to the account as well as the given role. So we can see that the current account here is assigned to the support group and they are given standard user permission in the learning portal. Up the top here is the site roles. So site roles is when you can provide the account with additional access to other components in the learning system. So for example, if this account is required to create learning components, I can provide the account with a standalone permission to Activity Builder. I can also provide a standalone permission to the course catalog as well as reporting to the standard user account without necessarily giving them full access to the backend of the learning system. But if you do require to give the user access to the backend system, then you can provide the account with Learning Management Administrator. So the account will be able to go into the learning system and look at accounts, create accounts, assign and manage accounts and groups in the learning portal. Last but not least is the site administrator access here. The only time that you provide an account with site administrator is when you want them to have full access to the learning portal without any restriction whatsoever. So this come in handy if you are acting as the site admin and you need full control to oversee the learning system. So just going back to the group section here again, you notice that there is add a new group banner here. Anytime that you need to move a user to a different group or if a user has been promoted, what you can do is update their group structure by selecting the banner. Place your mouse over to the select a group search box here, and by default it will show you the parent groups. And if you need to assign a new group to the user, there is a little arrow here on the right hand side. If you select the arrow, it would then bring down all of your subgroups. So this account here is still in the Adelaide department. I'm going to bring down further subgroups here as well. And they are now in the sales team instead of the support team. So I'm going to select sales. They are still a standard user role and select add. And once I have added the new group here, I can then go ahead and remove the support group from the user group here. And I'm going to hit refresh. And immediately you will notice that the account is no longer sitting under the support group. But if I go back to the main Adelaide department group here and go into sales, my account has been moved from the support group over to the sales group. Just going back to the user account here, the next tab that we can see is the logins tab, which tells you the summary of their first login, last login, and also registered date. As the users are logging into the system, it will also timestamp that information for you here as well. So you can always refer back to the total logins of a particular user through this login tab. The next tab is the Learn Activities tab. With the Learn Activities tab, we can see the current courses that's currently assigned to the user account. And towards the right hand side here, you can either see a folder icon or a red cross. With a folder icon, this tells me straight away that the user has inherited the training based on the group that's been assigned to their account. And if I place my mouse over the folder icon, it should tell me where the user has inherited the training. Whereas the red cross tells me that an admin has gone into the user account directly and manually assigned the training out to the user. And up the top here, you can see the Add Learn Activity banner. And if I select the banner here, there should be a drop down, and this is where I can manually assign the training out. So say for example, if this user is required to do the driver safety, I can assign this to the user's training straight away. So now on top of the assigned or inherited training, the user will also have to do 2 other additional training that has been manually assigned to their account. In addition to manually assigning courses to the account, what you can also see here under the enrolled learning activities are what I call account status. So as users are logging into the system and starting their training, the status here will update from not started to potentially in progress or completed as well. And if I need to know when the user has commenced their training, if you select the course title, that will bring down the objective box. And at the moment, because the course is not started, there's no timestamp for a started date as well as a completed date. But as users are completing the training here, this section here will be filled out. And if there is a score or if there is assessment component, there will be a score mark against the course. Towards the end here, we also have a deadline date. So a deadline date refers to when the user will need to complete their training by, and an auto reset refers to whether the user will need to reset this as a refresher. So 12 months from now, if they need to redo the same course again, that's where the auto reset comes into play. What I can do is manually set an auto reset date for the same time next year. However, just be mindful that you can only reset an auto reset date for a completed training. So if I try to set an auto reset date for 2022, this time next year, the system will not allow me to do that. However, I can add a deadline date against any not started course. So in this case, I can say this user here, they have up until the 14th to complete the training. As well as setting a deadline, what you can also do is set manual completion. So anytime if you do need to set a completion for a course, you can select the 3 dots here, choose set complete. You are also required to pop in a start date, a completed date, score if applicable. And then once you have fulfilled all the requirements here, the complete option will be enabled, and then you just select complete. This will then mark the course as completed on the user's behalf. And also, if you do need to download a completion certificate for your records, you can do so by selecting the certificate icon here, and then it will initiate the downloading process there for you. Last but not least, anytime that you have unenrolled a particular training, or if you have removed a course from the user's current enrolled learn activities list, it will appear under the unenrolled learning section. So this is captured through here. So if you do need to refer back on any unenrolled courses, just know that this can be viewed as well. The next option that we have here is the ETR tab, or the external training records. I have previously mentioned that you can capture third-party completion in the LMS, and to do so, we just select the blue banner here, which will then bring down a list of information that we need to fill out. The first part is selecting the provider, so who has conducted the training. In this case, the example that I have placed is Red Cross. Qualification is, or it could also be known as courses as well. So what training did they undertake? I'm going to pop in first aid. And you can also add a trainer's name if required here as well. But you can just go down and pop in a started completed date. If there is a refresher date, you can pop that in here as well. And if the user has provided you with a course completion certificate, you can actually browse your computer and attach that to the learner's records. And once I have all the information here, I can hit save, and that will then add the records to the user's profile. And lastly, we have the admin view of the user transcript here. Similarly to the user view, an admin can export this as a CSV file. You can also print the transcript here as well. And if required, you can also save this as a PDF. And this here concludes the end of an account overview in the learning system. I'm just going to quickly come back to the dashboard here, which then takes us to the next component, which is reporting in the learning system. You will be directed to the reporting dashboard here once you've selected the reporting option from your admin dropdown. As you can see, there's quite a selection of different types of report that you can generate. So depending on the information that you want will determine the type of report you can generate. For example, if you need to identify any incomplete users, you can generate the incomplete user training report. If you need to generate any external training records as well, that is available here. Or if you need to identify the number of users in the system or wanting any account data information, the best one to use is the account data report. But today I will mainly focus on the user training report because this type of reporting here will give me information such as who has completed their training, who's currently in progress, who's not started, and potentially any overdue users. So as an admin, I can chase up any overdue users and provide them a reminder to say that they need to complete their training. I'm going to select the user training report here, which then requires me to fulfill 4 steps. So step number 1 is accounts and groups. This is where I can predefine the groups that I would like to run my report on. Hypothetically, if you don't define your groups and you leave this as blank, it would then generate a report for every single groups and account in the system. But if I need to generate a report for a particular groups or subgroups, I can do so by following the group tree here. So Kineo being the top level group, and I can go into the subgroups here as well. So if I am interested in running a report for the Adelaide department, I'm gonna select Adelaide and ensure to add. And now what the report will give me is the report for every account that is sitting under the Adelaide department here. The next step is step 2, courses and training modules. This is where you can define the courses that you would like to include in your report. By default, it will show or run a report for every single objectives or courses in the learning portal. However, you can change that by selecting pick objectives instead. And if you look through the course list here, you can add a course to your report so that right now the report will only run a report for any users who have the bullying and harassment for employee training assigned to their account. I can pick more than one courses for my report here. But in this scenario, I'm going to clear my selections and run a report for every single objectives. The next step is step number 3, advanced options. Now this is where you can choose to include some extra filters to be included in your report. So the first will be the group columns here. You can choose to include the group ID or even the group name or path. What this would include in the report is showing you the group that is currently assigned next to each users in the learning portal. Now, if you have predefined a group here in step number 1, I tend to leave this group column as blank because I know that every single accounts that will appear in the report here will be from the Adelaide department. The next is the user columns. So by default, the username, first name, and last name will be included. However, if you do need to include maybe an email address, or if there is an employee ID as well, you can include that information in your report. The next column here is the training module columns. Now this is where we can include additional information such as the deadline date as well as the deadline status. So by default, it will include the title, the started, completed date, the course progress and score. I would also include the deadline date as well as the deadline status, because this will tell me whether an account is overdue or not. And for any users that are overdue, I can chase them up. And last but not least, we have the historic columns here. So for any instances that you do need to include a historic completion of the same course, you can select this to be included in your report here as well. So what your report would look like if you do select the historic column is that it will include the current completion as well as any potential historic completion by a user in the learning system. Up the top here, we have additional filters that we can include. Previously, when I mentioned that any courses that you have removed from an account will be listed under their unenrolled training module section. Now, we can also include this information in the report by selecting to include the unenrolled training modules. We just hit add, and also just ensure that you select include option as well. So this will then add any unenrolled training modules to your current report that you are running. And then last but not least is step number 4. In step number 4, you get to choose the report output format here. So by default, HTML is the selected format. However, you can select CSV or even MS Excel. In this case, I am going to select CSV, hit generate, and then open up my report. So straight away, I can see under the deadline status that there's quite a number of users who are currently in a pending status. So a pending status means that the expiry date is still within the deadline timeframe. I can see that there's one user who's currently overdue, and currently there's no completion here being recorded. There's also the historic columns that I can see in the right hand side here as well. So from the report here, I can see who's currently logged into the system and who has commenced their training or who hasn't commenced their training. So from this, I can either send off an email reminder for users to log into the system and start their training, or even chase up any overdue users here as well. Going to quickly exit from the report. Now, if you find yourself generating the same report over and over again, what you can do is save this report to maybe name it as user completion, hit save. So next time that you come into the reporting tool, instead of selecting the user training report and then pre-selecting the same filters, you can go into your reports or the My Report tab here, hit your Save Report, and then you can just generate the report straight away. So that is a great tip if you want to save any reports that you would run often in the system here. And that concludes the reporting component as well as today's webinar. If you do have any questions, I would recommend to have a look at our knowledge base that you can access from your profile icon, which will then take you to all of our product articles. So if you do need to review on a particular section of the learning system, or if you would like to read more about our reporting tool here, you can do so by finding some of the articles in the knowledge base. But other than that, once again, thank you for joining the webinar, and I hope that everyone has a great day ahead. Thank you. Bye.